Good evening, everyone. Today is August 17th, 2026. This is the Town of Victor Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if you would join me, we'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Okay. So much, a few housekeeping matters. Emergency exits are off to the side. Restrooms are out in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet. There's also some business cards and phone numbers, emails of the planning department. The back table, there are resolutions, but a quick note on that. I think council knows we can't make a decision tonight. County Planning Board hasn't made a decision, so you're gonna have to come back and join us again. All right, next, if you haven't done so already, either please silence or turn off your cell phones. And if there's some conversation that isn't directly related to the application, please take it out in the hallway so as not to disturb the application process. As far as the application goes, what we'll do is we'll give the applicant an opportunity to make the presentation. I see we have a nice binder. We can go through it. What we do as a board, unless it's absolutely necessary, we won't interrupt the applicant or witnesses, whoever wants to talk, vice versa. While we're asking questions, please don't interrupt us unless it's absolutely necessary. Why? Because Amber over here is taking minutes. And if we're talking over each other, it's going to be very difficult, even though she does an outstanding job, for her to figure out who said what, where, and when. So let's not do that to Amber. Exhibits. I know, again, we have lots of exhibits we have in front of us. We can ask Susie, just let her know what you want to pop up on the screen, and she will do so. If you are talking about directions or things you want us to pay attention to, we have a pointer. You have a pointer up there, certainly point to it. Use descriptive language. Try not to say, if you notice over here, if you notice over there, that doesn't translate very well to minutes. We like to have solid, good minutes. And compass directions, buildings, roads, whatever you can do to be as descriptive as you possibly can. If you have new exhibits, let us know that they're new so we can mark them accordingly. With that, I think we can move along to our minutes of August 3rd, 2026. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review. So I would entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that. Chris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh, thank you, Larry. Larry abstains. Got that? Super. All right. That's taken care of. So let's get on with our application. And let us know who you are so we can put that in the record.
Trying to read the instructions to. All right. Good evening. My name is Melissa Valley. I'm an attorney at Harder, Seacrest, and Emery, appearing tonight on behalf of LSI Solutions. Joined with me is Jim Gelzo, Vice President and Chief Development Officer of LSI, Greg Miller, Infrastructure and Corporate Services Director of LSI, Steve Schultz, the Project Engineer from MRB, and Max Hegney from Lefroy. We are here tonight to request two variances for the property located at 7796 Victor Menden Road for the project known as the Trailside Development Project. One variance request is for a height increase and the other is for the number of stories. And the property is located in the light industrial zone, Route 96 251 corridor overlay district. At the end of July, as you know, we submitted our application, which if most of you hopefully have a copy, and if you don't, please let me know. We can get some more. Just to run through really quickly, although it sounds like everyone is aware of the exhibits, there's a cover letter which goes through and provides a really nice overview of LSI and the project and also the 5 factors. Exhibit A is a property overview image. We do have a blow up, and I think you have that Very nice. Up on the screen already. Exhibit B is a letter of support from a neighbor. Exhibit C is a visual rendering of the site, which we also have on a poster board. Exhibit D are site plans. There's 3 of them: a draft overall plan, a draft site plan, and a draft landscaping plan. E is visual rendering or perspective renderings from a balloon study, or boom study in this case. Exhibit F is cross-sectional drawings. G is the short environmental assessment form. H is the variance application, and I is the property owner authorization. A different LLC owns the lands from LSI Solutions. So with that brief overview, and it's fully detailed in our submission, I'll just kind of quickly cover who LSI is. LSI is a globally recognized medical device manufacturing company and a leader in minimally invasive surgical devices. LSI has been part of this community since 2001, employs over 550 people locally. LSI is a vertically integrated company that designs, manufactures, molds, fabricates, and markets its products right here in Victor. LSI is also known for its medical summits and surgical training programs, which it hosts right here in Victor. These summits attract surgeons from around the world to our community, generates considerable economic activity, and elevates the community's profile. But LSI is expanding. Its campus, is in need of expansion really for 2 different reasons. One, the molding, fabrication, and assembly space on the current campus, which is kind of spread across various buildings, is undersized and needs to expand to support LSI's continued success. And then 2, the global need to increase the frequency and the size of the medical summits and surgical training programs really requires a larger space than what LSI currently has. The Trailside Development Project is that solution. It'll include the construction of building number 8 on the campus. So and I think Exhibit A goes through and it marks out, the number of buildings. So this is building number 8. Also, like I mentioned, Exhibit C has the rendering of that. Building 8 is going to serve multiple purposes for LSI's growing needs. It will consist of 4 different floors. We provided more detail in the submission of what each floor will include, but just a quick rundown. The first and second floor are primarily going to be occupied by 2-story rooms, a 2-story lecture hall, a 2-story molding or manufacturing space, primarily for molding, and also a 2-story atrium. The second floor is also going to house world-class surgical training spaces. The third floor will primarily be offices for the employees that are being displaced from the other expanded operations in the other buildings, not Building 8 on the campus. And finally, the fourth floor, which we're referring to as the veranda, will include a year-round hospitality and engagement space for the attendees of the medical summits and training programs, as well as a wellness space for LSI's existing employees. With that brief overview, I'd like to jump into the variance criteria, which again, fully documented in our submission. At the outset, in accordance with the zoning code, section 211-8 C2C2, we note that the benefit to LSI and the community if these variances are granted far outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood, which we maintain there is none. Rather, this project is tangibly beneficial to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood, community, medical industry, and frankly, the world, and will support LSI as it continues to be a regional economic contributor and an active leader in this community. So for the first factor, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance. This factor should be balanced in favor of this board granting the variance request, as there's no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood by this project. Again, LSI has operated on the property since 2001, and the use of the property is not going to change. The property in the surrounding area has been light industrial for many decades, and again, the project aligns with that, and that is not changing. Further, the majority of the surrounding area is actually owned by LSI, and you can see that in Exhibit A, the immediate property. Importantly, the project is set back 644 feet from Route 251, and will be set back over 150 feet from the northern boundary of the property, which is near the Lehigh Trail. And that's detailed on Exhibit D, the site plans. While there are some residences nearby, I just want to direct your attention to Exhibit B and E. So B, like I mentioned before, includes a letter from one of the neighbors directly across the street, supportive of the trailside project, and no concerns about any detriments to the neighborhood. That was Exhibit B again. Exhibit E includes images that were generated from a balloon study. Like I mentioned before, that was a boom study. A boom was lifted up 56 feet into the air, and all around the area, in accordance with the key images, pictures were taken, and then the building was superimposed on those images. So as you can see, the project cannot be seen from the majority of the perspective points. So image 4 was taken from the Bell Arbor Drive neighborhood. Can't see the building. Image 5 was taken from the intersection of Will Hill Road. Can't see the building. Image 6 was taken near Pinnacle. Same thing, the building cannot be seen. Images 2 and 3 show the view from Route 251 and actually onto LSI's actual property. So yes, the building can be seen from LSI's own property. Image 7 shows the view from the northern edge of the property near the Lehigh Trail, which again is set back 150 feet, and it's very minimally visible. Important to note that these are just generated views based on current site conditions. As you can see from our submission, LSI cares deeply about the property and the natural environment. Over the years, it's planted 136 trees approximately, maintains 180 trees through professional care, and really just continually invests in the aesthetics of the property. None of that is going to change if these variances are granted. In fact, as we'll discuss more with respect to factor number 4, these variances will enable LSI to plant nearly 60 additional trees on the property. So that we expect the view shed opportunities that you see in these renderings to actually decrease after construction. My last point with this factor is that the town has allowed similar height and story allowances in nearby areas, which I detail in the submission. So factor number 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Again, this factor should be balanced in favor of the board granting the variances, as the other options just aren't feasible. As I mentioned earlier, LSI's business is expanding. The property is currently undersized for the campus, rather, the buildings are currently undersized for its needs. The project is going to enable LSI to expand its plastic injection molding department, its metal fabrication, its production assembly operations, and relocate, like I mentioned, those employees from those other buildings, and all of those operations are primarily in buildings 5, 6, and 7, I believe. So the employees currently working there will be moved over to building 8. And so all of that will happen all while creating a premier state-of-the-art healthcare education destination right here in Victor. The existing zoning and other criteria requirements fully, entitle LSI to develop this property and further support the growth of the business. And I think the question obviously is just how and where. So this property does have a limited buildable area, which requires this vertical design that you see for building 8. Again, I think discussing this more in the context of factor 4 makes sense, but building 8 has been really thoughtfully designed to avoid tree clearing and eliminate impacts to on-site wetlands and their buffer areas, and that can be seen in Exhibit D, sheet 1 of 3. The actual components within the building require this vertical design as well. So Exhibit F, again, has that cross-sectional view, so you can kind of get a visual of what I'm about to explain. But the expanded molding shop requires 2 stories and the floors to be at least 14 feet. The surgical training rooms also require 14-foot ceilings, as does the mechanical, utility, and heavy-duty HVAC ductwork to support all of those operations, as does this 2-story lecture hall, which, you know, the utility, the mechanicals, the ductwork is all supporting that as well. The building design requires larger steel framing, which in turn increases the required height, and ultimately the required height for the floors, but then also the required height for the buildings, or for the building in general. And because of this multiple 2-story space within Building 8, the 3rd floor is necessary to support the offices for those displaced employees for the other buildings on campus currently. Finally, the veranda is necessary, a big necessary component to the overall goals of Building 8, creating a state-of-the-art healthcare education destination. Really, the magnitude of what LSI is doing right here in Victor demands this signature space to welcome the world-class leaders in the medical field, in which it invites to its campus. This will be the networking and gathering space, and also the dinner reception space for the attendees of the medical summits and training programs. But it'll also be a wellness space for LSI's current employees. And really the intention there is to provide a space that feels elevated in every sense, that showcases the community in a really meaningful and beneficial way. So with that, I'll move on to factor 3, whether the variance is substantial. Again, balancing all the factors, this factor can be tipped easily in favor of granting the variance. As you all know, whether the variance is substantial is really a relative question. And even if the variance is considered substantial, it can still be granted. Here, really importantly, any perceived substantialness in the variance or the building is drastically reduced by the very large setbacks here. So again, 644 feet from Route 251, which is the only publicly accessible, roadway that really can see the project. 150 feet, again, from that northern boundary, which has, on the other side of it, the Lehigh Trail, but then past that, just more kind of industrial vacant land. As I mentioned earlier, the project, again, is in that light industrial district, and that's not going to be disturbed by this project. The character of that area won't be disturbed by this project. Again, looking at nearby properties, the town has granted similar height and story allowances in areas that lack this substantial setback that is seen here at LSI's property. Again, I provided references to those, and we, of course, cite a handful of cases to support all these factors in our request here. Notably here, just, the comparison of nearby buildings can help justify the board's approval, even if it is determined the request is substantial. Moving to factor number 4. So by the board granting this variance, there will actually be a positive impact on the environment and the physical conditions of the property. We're not here seeking a use variance or seeking a variance that's going to enable LSI to build the building, right? LSI already has that right. So we're here to seek a variance so that the LSI can construct Building 8 in line with its broader philosophy of preserving and enhancing the natural character of the property. And again, just a reminder, LSI has planted more than 136 trees, maintains more than 180. The variance is going to allow them to really avoid the 2 federally recognized wetlands on their property, avoid the 100-foot buffer zone for both of those wetlands, significantly reduce the removal of trees and existing shrubs on the property today, but then also the variances will allow LSI to plant nearly 60 additional trees on the property after Building 8 is complete. And again, just to refer you to Exhibit D, Sheet 3 of 3, which details this. The project was completely designed with all of that as a goal, and it wasn't accidental. It was intentionally designed that way. So the variance is going to result in a project that will be heavily screened by the natural landscape and reduces the detriment, any perceived detriment to the surrounding area. The last factor, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. As you know, this factor does not preclude the granting of an area variance here. It's important to refer back to the site limitations that I mentioned earlier with respect to factor number 4. Also, LSI is entitled to construct the building, as I mentioned, but doing so in a responsible way and doing so in light of the limited site conditions that I mentioned. As case law explains, this factor is not dispositive. Rather, the real inquiry is whether the variance would have an undesirable effect on the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or the community. Here, the answer is no. No detriment is going to come from an aesthetically pleasing building set back more than 640 feet from a road. No detriment will come from a meaningful increase in economic activity or a spotlight on our community by global leaders. Certainly no detriment will come from the preservation of wetlands or additional tree plantings on the property. Instead, the variances are supporting LSI's continued presence in the community. Will support the growth of a business whose local commitment, regional economic contribution, and worldwide healthcare impact, serves the interests of not only our community, but the greater public interest. So in conclusion, no detriment will come from granting these variances. The 5 factors can all be balanced in favor of granting the variance request. Questions?
All set?
Yes. Is there anything you would like to add to that? Okay.
Matt, our resident developer, engineering background, so let's start with you.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you very much for the presentation. Starting in regards to the overall square footage for the project, it looks like it's about a 41,000 square foot building footprint. So it's the 120,000 square foot for the first 3 floors, and then it looks like the 4th floor is like half the footprint of the other 3. So is that about the minimum amount of square footage that is needed for the expansion?
So the square footage is an active point of discussion for this building. It has not yet been finalized. Notably, we are coming to the zoning board first, not the planning board. When the planning board submission is ready to be submitted, I think that's when the square footage total would be finalized. It's up in the air because of the the inside of the building with the 2 stories, multiple 2-story spaces. It's kind of jumbling up the square footage. And so we don't have a final square footage number to share tonight at this time.
The size and shape of the building is the minimum that's needed, understanding some parts of it are 2 stories. We might not have the final square footage, but this is the minimum size and shape that's needed to be able to do the expansion project.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
In regards to going higher versus going wider, is there a benefit in the business capabilities that LSI is going to achieve there by going higher, and also in regards to any construction costs, the economics of the project, where it's better to go vertical versus horizontal? From a nature standpoint, I can see it. I was out there. It looks like you guys are trying to avoid taking out about an acre of trees on the west side between building 6 and building 8, that you could have expanded the building wider, away, not impacting the wetlands, and still taking out those western trees. It seemed like so is there a benefit economically going vertically versus going horizontally?
Sure. Yeah. I think the economic benefit, and really just, I guess, yeah, sure. Business benefit to LSI for going more vertical is, again, just creating this signature space. This veranda is very much essential for this building and part of this project. And this is a large building, but I mean, there's a lot going on in there. And just to reiterate, the 1st and 2nd floors have those multiple 2-story spaces. The 3rd floor is going to be necessary, the size it is, to handle those displaced employees. And then the 4th floor, again, is with all of the components in the remainder of the building, it's really not leaving any space for those networking and dining opportunities, for who they're inviting for. And so the business case is to have that space to elevate the medical and surgical training programs and the summits that they offer there.
Yeah, so going vertically from a business standpoint works better than, say, you create a 90,000 square foot footprint, do it over 2 stories, and then it's just a really large building, but going vertically works better from a business perspective.
Right.
Okay. Is this expansion creating jobs and bringing any new services also to the campus?
There will be additional employees hired, right? I mean, that's of course going to happen when a business is expanding. I don't know if there's numbers associated with that, but there are certainly expansions of the existing operations. So there will be additional employees brought by that.
Okay, and then it looks like the veranda story that is there is about half the size of the other 3 stories. So in regards to the height variance, from looking at the elevation, it appears the 3rd story at 42 foot high is the full height of the building, and then the veranda, which is about half the footprint, would then be the next story, but only half the building footprint.
Right, I'm not sure if it's exactly half, and I don't know. Steve,
I'm
would
using
you
half,
agree?
just
Sure,
looking at it,
yes.
just ballparking it. yeah.
Yes, yes. The veranda will be substantially smaller than the 3rd floor.
Okay, and then my last question for this is, from looking at the overall Victor zoning code, it does not look like there's a zoning code that allows it. If LSI was not able to obtain the height variance to do this project, would there be a possibility they would leave Victor and look at doing expansion somewhere else?
Business question. Sure, yeah, please.
Hi, Jim Gelzo, LSI Solutions. To answer one of your questions, I believe the 4th floor veranda is about 1/3 of the size. One of your previous questions, the economic benefit for LSI, there is none. This is actually going to be more costly to build up. Lefroy always tells us not to. We favor nature and landscaping, so we opt to make the footprint smaller and go taller. Your last question, I believe,
Yes.
was, sorry.
If the height variance, if you were not able to obtain the variance to do what I would say is probably your signature headquarter building on the campus, would LSI, and since there's no other zoning district in the town of Victor that would allow this height, would LSI then be looking at possibly leaving the community and expanding somewhere else outside?
There is the
Victor?
potential for such things. We started business as of October 1st, 40 years ago. Our first foray into the medical arena was through research and developing products for other companies. In 2003, we started developing products. Products have done us really well, but the natural progression of a business is to die if you don't evolve. So we went from research to products, and our next foray is into procedures. Malpractice is defined as caring for a patient in a way that isn't the standard of care. We're pushing technologies and procedures that aren't the standard of care. European surgeons are cutting edge, and we're able to bring them to the U.S. to show U.S. surgeons, University of Rochester, Rochester General Hospital, different ways of doing things. We've learned that through our experiences that our competitors like Medtronic and Edwards are starting to use our name now in their ads because we are becoming a standard of care. In this case, we do believe the standard of care, it would actually be malpractice to not be able to train surgeons in this way. We are looking at other venues. One of the main concerns is the fact that Rochester is not a hub city. Getting surgeons here is really difficult. We started chartering jets to bring high-class surgeons in for that reason. We have looked at other options, nice destinations, Miami, Hawaii, places like that. But we like the Victor area. We've been here since 2001. So to answer your question, yeah, we've looked elsewhere for this. We do believe the hospitality side of this, to answer one of your questions that you asked about the employee count, we don't anticipate our employee headcount growing by much at all, although if you build it, they will come, they will fill it. Most of it is to bring outside surgeons in to train them and teach the local surgeons, maybe the U.S. surgeons, on how to do the procedures in a different way that's less invasive to a patient. So bulk of it is hospitality for us. It's not really employees.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for right now.
Okay, Larry?
Well, I appreciate that LSI's in Victor and providing jobs and the economic environment that it is, but I'm confused about the legal, I know the argument you're making legally, but are you suggesting that the town cannot in any way restrict the size of a building? I mean, basically what you're saying in your argument is that, you know, in the past, it's been said that, hey, as long as it's good economically, you can pass this variance. You cannot not pass the variance. So are you saying that the town has no right to limit how many stories a building can be or how big a building can be? It sounds like it.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're here to request the variance for that purpose.
But the argument you're making in favor of the variance is that you cannot, we as a board cannot turn you down as long as, you know, it's good for you guys, it's good for the community, and so then the law means nothing? I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying, you know, and-
Sure, right. I mean, we have laid out the 5 factors, and we've provided justification for each one of those, and it's a balancing factor. So I believe we have provided justification for each one of those factors to balance in favor of granting the variance. I think, you know, when I was mentioning about how the existing zoning code and criteria allow LSI to build a building, I mean, that is true. There's nothing from a use standpoint that would restrict LSI from using the property in this way. But the question, like I mentioned, is how and where. And that's where these variances come into play. But certainly, you know, we're here, you have the discretion to balance the factors, and we are asking that you grant.
And LSI could indeed build the same building at 2 stories except horizontally. It's not going to, from the way you've described the building, it doesn't sound like you're going to get hurt, other than, and granted, I'm all in favor of trees and landscape and everything. Other than that, you could still do horizontally, 2 stories, make a beautiful building, and still stay within the law or the zoning laws.
You know, I'm not sure necessarily about that completely. I mean, obviously there's some restrictions. Right now, the way the building is configured and this vertical design, we are maintaining 75% open space. If it were to go horizontal in the way that would satisfy all of LSI's needs currently, I'm not sure where that would necessarily land. Also, I mean, it's not just a matter of, you know, preserving trees, that there are substantial wetlands on the property, and this is actually a great sheet to have up right now. Exhibit D, sheet 1 of 3, shows, you know, the substantial wetlands on the property, but then also the 100-foot buffer around those wetlands. I mean, so that is an area that, you know, really cannot be disturbed, but also.
You could go between 6 and 8 and not touch the wetlands at all.
Well, I mean,
Because the wetlands are south from that map.
and that, I mean, there's also the concern about, you know, removing unnecessary trees and shrubs on the property, and all of that was factored into this design that you see today.
Was there another design created by LSI for 2 stories?
No, this is the philosophy in this building manifest, the philosophy of LSI to preserve the trees and existing natural landscape. I mean, it is a very important, you know, philosophy to LSI. So that was, as I mentioned, this building was thoughtfully designed to try to keep as many trees and shrubs existing on the property as possible. Again, avoid the 100-foot buffer, avoid the wetlands. So this was the design that was selected by LSI.
But they did look at other designs.
I did not say that.
Can someone say that? I mean, obviously, when I'm building a building or I'm building a project,
Right.
I have alternatives.
An alternative design would not satisfy LSI for what it is represented to be.
Oh, no, that wasn't the question. The question is, were there alternative designs, including one that was 2 stories tall?
Would you like to answer? I think I've answered it, but.
And Jim Gelza, LSI Solutions. There were other designs considered about 3 years ago based on our experience in the spaces we currently have for manufacturing and hosting venues for these medical summits. We could not fit this in a two-story building and actually provide the services that we need to keep the separation from manufacturing and our visitors.
What was keeping it, what was causing the problem?
We have
What is solved by the 4 stories as opposed to the 2-story?
The fourth story, actually, the fourth floor verandas aren't really a full floor, a story. It's really for the hosting of these events. We've noticed that these world-class surgeons being wooed by Medtronic and Edwards and Johnson & Johnson, they have facilities just like this. They choose to go to those places, basically how they're treated. And we wanted to create that same environment. And getting them far away from a manufacturing facility, which will be in this building as well, was paramount for us.
Help me understand why only the 4th floor is only half of the building. Why not do, I mean, other than, aesthetically, I understand it looks very nice and it looks like it's going to be.
We
Why not
wanted to
use
keep
the
people
whole-
away from the edge of the building,
Okay,
safety net, basically.
okay. Yeah, you mentioned or somebody mentioned that it's close to the Lehigh Trail.
Yes.
And will the building 4-story be able to be seen from the trail?
We actually had some renderings that showed barely through some trees. We've done similar buildings in the past on our campus, and we've done with the Conservation Board the same imagery. This building's about 150 feet, I believe, off of the trail. So it will be masked by the foliage.
Are there trees on this site now where the 4-story building will go?
At this point, no. Where the first-story building is going to go, there are no trees.
Okay.
It was scrub.
Wait, stop. You can't do that. But if you want to say something, you got to come up, because we can't, I can hear you, but Amber can't, okay? You'll have it, and whoever wants to talk is fine, right, so, got it? Go ahead, keep going.
Thank you, back to the question. Yes, you can see it from Lehigh Trail through the trees, barely.
No, the question was, on the footprint of where the building is going, are there any trees now?
No.
No. Okay, so it's just open.
It was scrub when we were building the road. There were intentionally no trees there for many years, and that's where we decided to put the building.
How will people get to the parking? Are they coming off of a road that's already there or not there?
The goal is to bring the people off of 251 in between. There's a cobblestone house that we currently own, and Mac Ave, I believe, is the other business, to bring the people in through there via shuttle bus, most likely staying in a local hotel. We favored the Woodcliff at this point. But we'd rather not host the events there, just have them stay there. So we've been bringing them by bus through that road. Entering that road and then leaving through the existing road that we currently have.
Beautiful building.
It's a lot of hard work. It's very big, but we figured 100,000 square foot based on what we do currently for manufacturing. We're in 82 countries currently, and we're looking at a couple very big countries adding on, and probably will quadruple our manufacturing output very soon. Growth we did not expect. It's pleasant, it's great. Sales heals everything, except it doesn't.
Okay. So you've been growing for 40 years, 21 here, or 25 here.
Yes.
If you continue to grow, where else do you grow on this piece of land?
On this piece of land, we can't grow anymore. With the wetlands that are there, there's nothing left.
So going 4 stories helps you.
I believe future-proofing the building, yes.
Did you look at taking any of the other buildings out and replacing them or renovating them, or?
No, the other buildings actually will expand manufacturing capacity in metal fabrication. This will be a plastic fabrication manufacturing space. And our other buildings are assembly, storage, component, fit-up, handworking, and machining. So those areas get to expand once we move this stuff out of the current buildings into this one.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very helpful to me.
Yeah.
So was just mentioned that you're quadrupling output and that the business has evolved over the past 20, 30 years. And what is the expected growth over the next 5 years? Yeah, I should have told you to stay up. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just stay up here. I believe in the next 10 years, we'll be quadrupling our output. In the next 2 to 5, certainly, we've experienced 10% growth year over year over year for the last
Okay.
10 years.
Okay. So with that 10% growth every 2 to 5 years, I assume then you're going to be adding some employees. I know you said you're not, with this building, you're not expected to add many more employees to that facility. It's minimal. But with the growth, because then you probably will be doing some manufacturing. I know some of it is bringing in physicians from the outside to do training. But on site, how many employees do you project possibly?
We're currently at 557 as of this, I think it was yesterday, Friday. We don't intend to be bigger than 600,
Okay.
although we probably said that at 5 and 4 and 3.
Yeah, and I understand that can always change. So with, you said 557 employees, and then in the letter it said they're in the region. Are those 557 physically in this footprint here in Victor?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all here. And so I want to now reference your Exhibit A. Susie, if you can put that up. That's
The colorful one.
colorful one. First one, yes. Oh, yeah, back one.
Those are the buildings.
And might you have the pointer? Works. But anyhow, did I do something?
Push that button.
Yeah. Well, and anyhow, the green outline, you own that property as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And do you intend to do any expansion there in the near future?
No, we do not. We actually tend to that property. We have somebody farm it for us, and we've cleared vines and trees, and we've had people stop on the road, threaten us for cleaning it up. But no, we have no intention. We got neighbors on that road there as well. And I don't think it's actually zoned for this purpose either.
No, so it's just farm, or do you just have it cleared?
Right now, it's farmland, and we clear you can see the trees. We
Right.
clear that up.
But there's no, like, farming being done on it now? You just...
Oh, there's actually farming being done.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Not by us. The
Oh,
previous
it's-
owner had an agreement, and we just kept that in
Oh,
place.
so you it's a lease agreement, okay. And I appreciate what was said earlier, that you want to, and Larry brought it up also, to minimize knocking down trees and landscaping. I'm all for that. And you said between building 6 and building 8, you would have to knock down trees. And I very much appreciate that as well. But then you also made a statement earlier that somebody had recommended it's better, that they prefer to not go vertical, to only have like 2 stories.
LaFroy Ice over the years has said, you have the land, go horizontal, not vertical. When you go vertical, you got to add elevators and costs. We've opted to not go horizontal. We want to save the trees. We keep planting more. It's painful for some of our employees to take care of them, but that's what we do.
No, and I fully appreciate that. So now, in the document says that the third floor of this building is going to have offices who were displaced from the other building. So about how many employees are in those offices, approximately?
About 100.
So it is 100 employees. Okay. And so why? And again, I know we talked about the trees. We all know where we all stand with trees. But and I know you need the 2 stories for some of the manufacturing and some of the training. Got it. So that makes it 2 stories. But like the offices, by going horizontal, like the 3rd floor, that's current offices, you could probably go between buildings 6 and 8, and either 1 or 2 stories, depending on what you need. If you did that, you wouldn't have to come in front of here
I realize that.
and request that. You know, did you think about that at all?
We've thought about that for about 3 years now, yes. It's not a choice that I'm allowed to make. I know that we like to save trees, and believe me, Greg Miller, LSI Solutions as well, he takes care of the facilities. We've tried, LaFroy's has tried to say, hey, listen, you can really build this out, we have to kill some trees, and we cannot kill trees.
But if now the board, and I know you go in front of the planning board too, but if it's decided that they won't let you go, you know, to 4 stories, but 2 stories, you know, would you consider
That
extending?
we'll have to go back to the drawing board,
Okay,
literally.
okay. Now, I just want to ask you one quick thing on the rendering of the building. And I can see the veranda on the top floor, but it's hard to tell. It looks like in the middle part, it looks, it's maybe like, I know you said the veranda is only like a third. Are there verandas on both sides, or is it just that one side?
The backside's actually going to house the HVAC units that are going to need to power this building. Under the roof would be the reception area, kind of like Constellation Brands. They have inside, I guess, would be a bar and
Okay,
feeding,
got it.
and then outside a patio. So the front of it, you see there is the patio, where all the windows are, would open wide to host.
Okay.
The
Okay.
backside is just HVAC.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. I think that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the buildings, like on the main campus here, what's in buildings, if you can go through like 1, 5, 6, and 7, what's going on in those
Sure.
buildings?
Building 1 is our design and development building. That's where all the innovation, the patent work, the CAD drawings, and the overall proof of concept happens. Building 2 is where we do additive manufacturing. That's where we have 3D printers, building some of our more, I would consider exotic materials, cobalt chrome and stainless steels. Building 3 is where the handwork happens. For some of these components that are 3D printed, people don't realize this, but 3D printing is not a printing process, and you have to do some hand finishing. So building 3 are the people that do that. Building 4 is maintenance. It's been there forever. It houses all the lawnmowers that take care of the at least 18 acres of manicured lawns. Building 5 was our warehouse. Initially, we outgrew that. It now became our injection molding area and supporting functions for that injection molding area. Building 6 is metal fabrication and some office space. Building 7 is the assembly of all of our terminally sterilized products. The products are one single use that get thrown out after use in the OR. We build the products here, send it out for sterilization, and bring them back into the warehouse, which is now in Building 7. So 7 is really office space, training space now, which we transition to Building 8, and it's our most of our assembly, clean room assembly.
And when you go into 8, that's all new state-of-the-art, it's all going to be high-end?
Yes, very costly, state-of-the-art training facilities, manufacturing space, especially in projection molding.
You're showcasing that building?
Yes.
All right. Got it. That's it.
Okay. Where's your closest competitor?
What's that?
Your closest competitor, where?
Rochester, Minnesota, actually, of all places. Edwards, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, places like that. Right now, luckily, our flagship product that's really doing all of our business, no one's competing with it. And the people like Medtronic, we found out last week, are actually using our product in their ads for their valves. We fasten valves in place. That's the bulk of our business. And Medtronic and Johnson & Johnson, Edwards, they have valves, and they use our products. They advocate for surgeons to use our products to fasten them. Surgeons like to suture by hand. They don't like tying knots by hand, and that's where our products come in.
When you say valves, heart.
Heart valves, yes. Mitral valves, aortic valves.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be that Rochester is growing as a cardiac hub,
Yes,
fair to say.
yes. University of Rochester, the person that owns the company, Dr. Jude Sauer, actually went to school there. He has a lot of friends there. Unfortunately, they're not as cutting edge as we'd like them to be, so we bring European surgeons here to show them, and we send them out to Europe to show them how it's really done, and they're starting to convert to minimally invasive procedures here. So we actually do contribute to the University of Rochester, sorry.
Thank you. Let's talk about the veranda a little bit. I don't know who said it, but there was some mention about there are other hubs that entertain Miami, for example. We're not even close to Miami. We're Rochester. This is cloudy a lot of days, and there's not a lot of nice days. We have a nice day today, but a veranda of that size, I'm concerned that the use you might get, basically getting a bang for your buck is the best way I can put it. Maybe you might get Memorial Day to Labor Day, because it seems like right after Labor Day, leaves are flying all over the place, and rain and snow, and that's not covered. There's no retractable roof, is that correct?
No, that's correct.
But you still want to go forward with it and have that as an entertainment.
Yes, we spent a lot of money at Woodcliff to do the same thing on their patio. They have a deck area outside, their outside pool. We help provide the utilities and the equipment to heat it, make it usable most of the year round.
And there's really, as far as we have to explore alternatives, not having the veranda there and putting it, let's say, some other place, tents or parking lots or something that's temporary. Why don't you want to go that way?
Our esteemed surgeons, they're looking for the highest end, the highest class, I want to say, entertainment, but yeah, a tent wouldn't showcase that for us. We do that for employee base, but not for world-class surgeons that we fly in private charters.
All right, so I think council's aware that if a variance is granted, the variance runs with the land. So irrespective if you're here, and we hope you stay here for years and years and years, but if you decide to pack up and go, that building stays, the variance stays, and we're well aware of, let's say, Eastview Mall. Some of you are aware that Wilmerites are having wrestling elephants, is the best way I can put it, is malls are dinosaurs, and they're big, big, big bricks, right? That's in a potentially residential, closer residential neighborhood. If you leave, that's a large building that's going to be there. So that's why I think a lot of our questions are focusing on, do you really need that space that much? Because it's going to stay, that variance. Understood? So what I'd like to do is ask you, I'm curious about, I'm going to point to the rendering. Our battery's supposed to be going. But what what I'm looking at, that's just fine, is the corner of the building. It looks like 3 stories of 4 large windows. Those right there that you're pointing to. Why?
We want to bring in a lot of natural light, and we actually have a 3-story atrium in both of, we call them the bug eyes, the curves. So it's just a real tall, welcome, open area for visitors to come in. The first floor is really to receive them. Second floor is to train them. The rooftop is to entertain them. And the third floor is all for supporting elements for the people that actually host those shows.
Are there drawings that exist that show the atrium, the office space, the training facilities, all those different spaces? Are they done yet?
They're not done. We have isometric views of each floor, and we have a model behind us that show that. We don't have floor plans in place for the office structures or the training rooms. We just have open areas and lecture halls right now.
I hesitate to buy that because I have some experience in the architectural world. If you've gotten this far, you have to have some idea of how many offices you have, how many training facilities, what do they look like, what's the floor, the finished floor, are they 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot floors? Because you're asking for some 21 feet and 4 floors. So for us, I think to buy into all that, I think you have to put a little more meat on the bone so that we can really understand why you need that space.
Any steel structure that we have on campus, your floors are about 14 foot. You've got 10 foot from the floor to the finished ceiling, drop ceilings, and then you got 2 foot of utility space, 2 foot of structural steel. And in our world right now, we're actually going through the programming phase with architects, real architects, to help us develop those plans. We know where we want to put offices, but what kind of office do we want to put in? Yeah, we should be farther along on the floor plan side of it from my perspective. But now we're bringing in experts to help us plan those, talking to those teams who will be there.
When do you want to put the shovel in the ground if the variance is granted?
Spring of next year.
When do you think those, even preliminary drawings of, again, the office spaces, how big are they? How big are the training facilities? Really the nuts and bolts of why you need that much space, so that we can, I think, better understand it. I agree with, I think the board is saying, it's a beautiful looking building, but it's a shell, and we can't quite figure out what's going on inside and why do you need it?
I think in the next month, we'll be going to, hopefully, the planning board, which should have the guts of it inside within the next month.
So if I understand you correctly, then there are 100 employees that are going to be in and about that building,
Yes.
right? Can you give me a percentage of, the rest of the space is going to be used for manufacturing, research and development, entertaining? Am I missing something?
No, the first floor is basically reception, make it a grand opening, facilities to feed the people that come in. Second floor is wide open training space. We put in surgical tables and demonstrations of different anatomy. And we're looking to put a couple of surgical suites, actual surgery rooms, to do some training. Third floor is all the offices and cubicles and common areas for people that will support those functions. And again, the rooftop is the hosting.
You had those numbers, let's say percentages. We want 20 offices, 3 surgical facility. That, I think I was asked maybe a tough question for you. It's like, what are the sizes? But if you have numbers, these are the amount of research, areas and offices and surgical areas and just the approximation of what are you going to do with all that space as opposed to, not saying an atrium isn't nice, but there are other things I think you're trying to accomplish. Get the surgeons trained to keep your company in Victor, those kinds of things.
Yes. I don't have them off the top of my head, the breakdowns for those areas.
So next time you come back, could you get the rough numbers of what you're going to use that building for, even if it's percentages? It's going to be 10% of offices, 20% of whatever those numbers look like. I think it'll give us a good idea.
Yes.
All right. I do want to thank you. Before, I was out, maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, took a walk around the campus, and I don't remember who I talked to, but recreating the balloon test, right, when you send the balloons up. Can we still do that?
Can we do it?
That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yes.
Does the board want to, the map that we've looked at, what exhibit is that? I think it's Exhibit E. No, it's Exhibit E that shows the distances.
Oh, yes.
And I think we were talking about, there's photographs that show what the structure would look like from certain vantage points. If I'm not mistaken, I think an engineer, somebody did it using balloons, putting it up 56 feet. So we can do that again.
We can do that again. We used, I believe, a sky lift and not balloons, because balloons blow in the wind.
Sorry, skylift.
Yeah. We can easily do that again. Actually, I think we plan to.
All right, so would the board like to see that, just from these, looking at those vantage points?
With the images provided, I'm fine.
You're good. Larry, would you like to see that? You're good? Leah? You're good? Okay, never mind. I think, Chris?
We're good.
All right, we're all good.
You don't want to be on the SkyTrack, trust me.
Don't put me up in there. I don't want to do that. Let me ask you this, and I think I know the answer to it. Why can't you go down? Why can't you, instead of going 4 stories up, even put a story down and have whatever it is that you want to use below ground?
We talked to LaFroyce about that, and given the water table and the soil conditions, getting the water out of there eventually will not be a fun project for us.
Okay.
We're going to have a lot of industrial equipment, heavy molding machines, so we need a solid foundation, and most of that starts 4 feet below ground and above.
All right, and is it fair to say putting employees working sub-ground is usually not a good idea for fire. I think the fire marshal would probably, I just don't want to put words in your mouth, but.
No, actually, if you look at Building 1, it was built in 1981, I believe, by Scientific Calculations Incorporated and bought by Harris Communications in 86 or something. It looks like a bunker, and it was intended to be for government contracts. I can tell you that employees that live in that building, it's not as pleasant as their other buildings.
Okay. All right. Before I open it up to the public, anyone have anything else?
I had one more question.
Go ahead.
Going off of Mike's question of where your nearest competitor is, for a facility like this, if you get the variance, do the project, will there be anything like this facility, this space that you know of in the Western New York area, New York State, or is this going to be like state-of-the-art where there is nothing else? Like in
This
the
would be
area that you
state-of-the-art
know of?
for the area. The nearest thing is orthopedics in Tampa, and it's kind of where we model this off of. Multi-billion-dollar company that we visited.
Okay.
Good, Larry, anyone else? Good. Would anyone from the public like to speak for or against the application? Sure, come on up.
I think that you said the,
Hold on, time out.
time out. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm Jody Davies.
Thank you.
And we are right across the street. So, I think that you said you were planning on busing people in
Hold
off
on.
of that.
You have to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can't allow the questions to go to the applicant. You
Sorry,
can ask
I'm not
us,
gonna
and
ask
then
you.
we can ask them. We can do that.
I want to know how the traffic, it sounded like he said he was going to bring buses in so that the traffic next to the Mac Ave would be buses going in, but then when they came out, they'd be coming out the other exit? Is that a true statement?
So busing
He said he was,
employees or?
well, no, he said he was going to, they were flying people in and they would probably be shuttling them or busing them in for the
Okay,
training. And it
Go ahead.
sounded like it was going to be a one-way street going in next to the Mac Ave. And then they would be exiting from the other exit that is down 251. And I just wanted to clarify that.
okay. So we'll allow that question. So why don't you tell us how that's going to happen, how often? So a little more detail to it.
Actually, I may have misspoken on that one. Yeah, the intent is to bring them off of 251 in between Mac Ave and the Cobblestone. There is a loop that drops them in front of the building and goes back out and comes out the same way they came in.
Okay,
It's not a great line of sight, honestly, but
all right. Super, good, thanks. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the application? Susie, anyone? All right, we're all good here? Good, okay. The county planning board meets when?
So our next meeting after that, I don't have the exact date for the county planning board, but our next meeting after that would be the September 21st meeting.
All right, we're good with that. If the board hasn't, again, I've had the opportunity to take a tour. I think it was quite enlightening to see where the building is going to go, and I think it was presented to us, and accurately so. It's just scrub, and it's marked. You know, there are poles out there that mark where they want it to be. So if,
I was out there Sunday, so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
okay, so if other board members want to take a look at it, we could probably set that up. Otherwise, we will see you on September 21st. All right, good to go? Thanks so much for your time. Hang on to your notebooks, everyone.
Are you open to a move to adjourn?
Unless there are some other topics, whether it be training or questions you have particular to general things, we can certainly address them. Hearing none,
Move to adjourn.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.